and good morning and welcome everybody. It's a fantastic day and hopefully you'll get an awful lot out of the day that we have planned for you today. I'm Jo Stanford and I'm kicking off the day along with some colleagues. So welcome to NHS Project Futures Compass 2. This is another one-day event following on from the event we had in May and our original festival that we had in February. We've got a really packed day for you again today, and so I want to cover some housekeeping things to make sure that you can get the most out of the day and really enjoy it and really network and connect, as well as learn some really great stuff. So if we can have a look at the platform. So the platform you're on now, well done. If you're seeing me, you've made it to the right session, the right event, but what we need to do now is just make sure that you can make the most of it and see what's coming. So in the platform, we have the agenda. So each of the sessions are all in here. And just to be aware that the lunchtime session, the networking sessions, are the only ones that are going to be on Teams. If you go into that session during that session and look at it, the links to each of the sessions. If you're interested in project management, click on the first link, program management or portfolio management, click on the respective links, and that will take you into that particular session. So the rest of them are all on the platform and you can go into them and click on them like you have done with this one for the rest of the day. We hope you can stay all day, but we appreciate that other people have commitments and there are things you can't always get out of. So come and join us wherever you can. If you can stay for the day, that's fantastic. If you're dipping in and out, don't worry, you can always catch up on any sessions that you missed through on demand. After today, the recordings from each of the sessions will be shown on the site in the places they are in the agenda. So come back and have a look at them again. And you can also look at all the previous events if you missed any of them. They're all still on the platform as well. So go through and have a look at those. It's really critical that we get the most out of this event and the most out of the time we spend together. There's a real opportunity for networking and for collaborating. Some of the sessions today are really tailored around that, particularly the lunchtime ones. But also, if you think about what you want to get out of it, there's some real challenges ahead, and some of that's going to require getting connected with people locally, regionally, and also in similar kinds of changes and functions to you. So make the most of that. If you go into the networking session, you can click on any of the people that are in here today and you can send them a message, you can have a chat with them, and also if their email address is on there, you can send that as well. So do get connected. That's really critical part. We've got a whole, host of, there's about 1,200 people now registered on this site from across the country. And some of them will be really valuable to you and things that you can add to them as well. Find out more about the speakers, click on those links. We've also got regional leads, champions and ambassadors. So get connected with them if you want to join and you want to help support the profession by contributing as a regional lead or a champion or ambassador. Please do get in touch. And Christine that's in here, if you let Christine know, she'll add you to it. Now again, this time we are running a game. There are some challenges that have been set by Massimo. So, and there are points to be had. So if you go into the game, you'll see all the challenges that are in there. There are also points to be made for if you turn up to a session on time. So there's a code at the start of the session. And if you stay right till the end, there's a code at the end of the session. You only get the points if you turn up on time and see it, and if you stay to the end and see it. Don't go bothering the help desk if you missed out, okay? If you turned up late, tough luck. The idea is you get there on time. And of course, what do points make? Points make prizes. So we have the award ceremony and quiz and party at the end of the day. And so the top 3 on the leaderboard at the end of the day will win the prizes. Wow, Craig's already got in there early. So if you've only just started, Craig has got 1,850 points so far. And I went into this an hour ago and it was empty. So he's been busy squirreling away. Clearly he's the tough contender to be beaten today. So get in there and get going with that. We also have prizes for the best activity feed item. So who can create the most interesting and innovative image and snap of the day. We also have some Twitter awards, so have a look at the Twitter feed wall and add in anything that is motivational or creative or inspirational. We will be judging the best tweets for the day, and there are prizes for those to be announced at the end of the day as well. We have some exhibitors on the site, some of the same ones we had previously. It includes some really key organisations, but also all of the apprenticeship providers. They're all on here as well. So if you're interested in the apprenticeships, you can always contact them through that. And we've also got Wellington who've come in addition to that as well. Documents, all of the documents from today, and there's a whole host of them, are in the document site. Go and have a look through. It's really important that you take away as much learning and resources as possible. There's some new things in there this time. Surveys. Each of the sessions has a survey. Please complete the survey. It's on the right-hand side, and you can let us know how it went. It's really vital for us that we know how well or what can be improved to make these events really useful to you and the best use and best value of your time. There's also one which is for feedback from the event as a whole. So if you can please complete that, there's points for that as well. But don't complete it before we get towards the end of the day. The game will close at 3:30 promptly. Anybody who's not got the points in by then, tough luck. That's going to let us know who's on the winner board at that point. There's a platform guide if you get stuck, social media links, and if you have problems, there's the help desk is being manned. So Christine is looking at emails, and Sophie and Jake are manning the help desk. So if you've got any problems, click on that help desk link. You can send them a chat, send them a message, and they'll help you get sorted out. I'll put headsets on. This is going to be how's that? Sound's not coming through my headset, but as long as the mic is, that should be okay. Got it. Okay, so spot the difference. This is going to be one for the bloopers reel. So apparently I was having technical difficulty and the sound went funny. So I've got my air traffic controller look on for now the rest of the day. So hopefully you can all hear me again properly. So just then, in terms of the sessions, if you have a look at the session to get the most out of each of the sessions, one of the things that we're really keen on is that you get to know each other in the chat. So in the chat for a particular session, say who you are, say hi, you know, get to know each other, ask questions. The Q&A, it's really important. Anything you want to know, we will answer at the end of this session. At the end of each of the sessions, all those questions will be answered. If we run out of time, they'll be answered afterwards. There's feedback for the session, which we want you to complete. And also some of the sessions have polls. So we'll be getting into that shortly. So that's really just to give you an overview of how to make the most of the day and what to get out of it. So hopefully you'll have a really fun time. You'll stay as much as you can for the whole session. You'll make the most of the opportunity to be together. And yeah, so let's get into it in a bit more detail then. So as part of the intro for the day, one of the things that we like to do is give an update on sort of state of the nation. So what's going on with the profession as a whole. So for those of you that have been around in the community for a while, you know that as a programme, developing the project profession for the NHS is quite a long and sort of complex piece of work, partly because nobody is actually responsible for it. So it is a collective group of volunteers working from all sorts of organisations across the NHS to come together to collaboratively develop the project profession for the NHS as a whole. So I'm a volunteer, Henry and Gareth and everybody else that's involved in all of this is doing this on top of the day job. So bear that in mind. We need to, we're working as fast as we can on some of this stuff around the day job and the pressures we've got. So in terms of the development of the profession, we have made some developments since we last met in May, but obviously it's been a challenging time. We're focusing this year on developing some more infrastructural elements. So that includes the setup on the management side of the project community. How do we keep it going for the future? How do we make it sustainable? Volunteering and doing as an add-on to the day job with no recurrent funding and no resourcing isn't really going to work. What we need to do is we need to shift it to that next level now and say, how do we make this an ongoing enterprise? There's about 10,000 people working in the project profession in the NHS. We've got about 1,200 connected in so far. It's a bit of a tipping point, and in order to really get the value from the amazing things that people are doing all across the NHS, we need to be able to coordinate and connect it up as well as we can. So as part of the programme, we're looking at what we need to manage internally in terms of project workforce, capacity and capability around things. So we sort of branded that as NHS Project Futures. So that's the bottom half of this, which is looking at operational function, how we support people with things like procuring apprenticeship, the capability frameworks, the online learning modules, so things that are part of the infrastructure of the NHS. But the other development is really around a community association, and that's beyond the walls of the NHS in England. And that's about the regional networks, which means that we can have, the regional team in Scotland. So Abu is hopefully on the call today. So we can connect across borders and spread the learning and the development and the opportunities and connect as project professionals with our counterparts wherever they may be. And there's some real value to that, which takes us beyond the constraints of things like NHS procurement, which means that we can look at doing things slightly differently if we set up an association. There's some out there that we've been looking at in terms of modelling. Catherine McCarthy's done some great work in terms of looking at funding ideas, and this is something we want to get your input into. Some really fantastic ideas have come together from a working group, and we're going to test them out with you this morning. So before that, we'd go into those polls, but the polls are coming up, so get ready to have a look at that bit on the platform. We have a set of key deliverables for this financial year, which is our aim. Obviously, we're subject to the whims and pressures of day to day, so we will do our best to get these completed. And this is around refreshing NHS careers, so it's revamping the view of the profession and the branding of it. Rachel Jenkins doing amazing work around coaching and mentoring and a working group around that. There's also a working group around equality, diversity and inclusion, which is a really, really critical part of what we need to build into the profession and the sustainability of it, because this isn't a one-off activity. This is about the fabric of the profession and the principles and what we're here for. And this is a profession for everybody. And we need to make sure that this profession enables everybody to access the opportunities that will help them to flourish and have a really meaningful career in the NHS. We're also looking at talent management, an online version of the competency assessment tool, looking at developing project workforce data and dashboards. So looking at the project workforce, how we can model it. Two of the people in my team are doing the project data analyst apprenticeship and just started that, so they're going to be helping to develop that as part of their apprenticeship program. So developing an association option and how we could and the options for how we could go about that. An operational steering group, so having that sort of oversight and decision making which brings all the different parts of the community together to collectively decide on the future and direction of travel. And then that sort of core team to be able to manage it going forward to make it sustainable. Those are the key things that we're looking at developing, and not just perhaps this year, but from this year to make sure that these are the next sets of things we have in place. As I mentioned, the real critical thing is sustainability. As we're all volunteering, Everything we use in terms of resourcing and funding for all of this comes from other programs underspend. We beg, borrow and steal it every year. And as long as people remain sort of fairly poor at budget management, we will still be able to tap into it, but it's not a way of being able to plan effectively ahead. And it means we can't really resource it. So in terms of going into and having a look at the polls, what I'd really like is your view on this. So the first question in the poll is, let me just click onto that so you can see it. How do we accelerate development of the Healthcare Projects and Change Association? Now, there's a free text thing, so we want you to put your ideas in the chat. We have a working group, but we want ideas from everybody to come in here. And this is about how do we access sponsorship? How do we access funding? How do we, ensure that we've got the setup right? What are your thoughts and ideas for how we could do this more quickly and more effectively? We do have some, options. So we could model it on the Healthcare Finance Management Association. They've offered to host us as part of their operational management function under their branding, but obviously they're finance people, it's going to be for a fee. We need to look at how we'd fund that. We could set up on our own, but then where's the seed cut funding coming from? We could look at partnering internally with NHS Improvement or one of the other organisations, so we've got an internal function. There's pros and cons to all of these, and one of the things we need to work on selectively is how do we actually go about picking what is either the right option or right combination of options. So if we can go into question 2 of the poll, this one's then looking at some of the thoughts that the working group has had in terms of ideas for how we could fund it. And again, if you are suggesting that there are other things that we could do in order to have it sustainable funding, both for the resources to manage it, but also in terms of to fund events like today and the continuous development of it. So funding things like new online learning modules, developments of tools and guides and resources that will help the profession really embed effectively across the NHS. So some of the things we've included are, we could look at potentially having an organisational annual subscription fee. And again, you can, I think, pick as many as you like here. It's not just a one choice option. We can have individual annual membership so that the members who are part of the community, part of the association, help to keep it going, keep it sustained. We could put event fees on, so each event could have a fee associated with it. And again, all of these have pros and cons, and we would need to look at then that perhaps sliding scales in relation to it. See if we can get NHS organisation event sponsorship. So getting either a group of organisations contributing to it, or we could look at sort of having a group of ones who perhaps would be interested in innovation of the profession that could seed fund at least the starting point. Any particular thoughts, put them in the chat. External corporate sponsorship, that's a tricky thing in terms of the balance of who gets the most value out of that. Obviously, external organisations have got money. We would be looking at, what do they want in return from us? The NHS has got a lot of funding, and a lot of organisations would be happy to tap into that in some way or form. There's also central funding, so DHSC and government spending review funding, so getting it built into the ongoing funding round for the NHS as a profession. So the digital profession and digital academy has that funding. We don't currently, and that's something we would need to go back. So the data is coming through, and people are starting to put in some ideas. And at the moment, the NHS organisational annual subscription seems to be a popular one, along with government funding, and then there's small amounts from individual fee, organisational sponsorship and external sponsorship. So again, put your thoughts in the chat in terms of any others that you think are missing. And what we will do is we will take away both the results from the polls that we're doing this morning and the comments and the feedback in the chat. And if you wanted to get involved and contribute to, say, user testing on any of it, flag your name up in the chat as well, and we will get you involved. And we'll take this back to the working group that's working up options appraisals at the moment. So your vote counts, and that'll help shape the direction. So why does this add value? Why does this make a difference? Should we be doing this? And this is really the important thing about the day and the community coming together. And one of the critical things about the project profession is we're here for the patients, we're here for the service, we're here to make the NHS better, not just now, but to make it sustainable for the future and the best it can be. And I think sometimes we need to think about, and how do we do that? So I'm just going to pass over to Gareth, who's going to talk a little bit about what's been going on sort of regionally around sort of connectivity, and let him tell you a bit of history around that.
Thanks, Jo. Firstly, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining. I'm not entirely sure how I follow what Jo's just presented and talked through, but I'll give it a go. So in the Midlands, so I'm head of PMO at UH&M, University Hospitals of North Midlands in Stoke, and I also volunteer to be the regional lead in the Midlands for the network. In the Midlands, we've now made contacts with over 250 individuals, ranging from, we go as far as Worcester to Lincolnshire. So we cover a large area. We've got around about 100 people now signed up to be part of the network, so interacting and engaged with the network. We had a first formal network meeting at the end of April, where we started to gather some thoughts, information, ideas from the members in terms of where we were going to try and take our network. Obviously, as Jo mentioned, there's an awful lot happening centrally that Jo's just explained. What we're trying to understand is regionally, what are our challenges where we can bring the value of the network to develop and work together. We had a steering group meeting from the individuals who've volunteered to be slightly more involved in terms of sitting into one of those regional roles that Jo mentioned at the beginning. And following the feedback from the network meeting and from the previous events that we've had, the previous Compass Day, the festival that we had back in February, we've identified 3 key work streams that in the Midlands we feel will be beneficial for us to work on collectively to try and develop. So we've just set these up about a month ago. The first one we're focusing on is around project highlight reporting. So we understand that across the nation, across the region, the way that we manage project management, manage reporting, governance is hit and miss. So it's different everywhere we go. What we're trying to look at is defining a set of best practice examples, if you like, that we can put onto our network for people to share, people to use, people to develop. So we've started on highlight reports, and we will be expanding that onto other key project documentation as well. And that'll be all onto our Knowledge Hub system for not just our region, but any region, any member to be able to log in, review, share, etc. The second work stream that we've identified is something that's come up several times in the past 12 months, which is a space for people to try and search for individuals who've worked on similar projects. We know that across the NHS, there is a lot of silo working. There is a lot of projects being implemented in multiple different locations and all being done in different ways. And we've got teams potentially falling into the same pitfalls, coming up to the same challenges, the same obstacles, and potentially going about tackling those differently. So we're trying to create a virtual space where we can allow members to create a biography, to talk about the projects that they are currently working on, the projects that they've worked on in the past, projects that they've successfully delivered, so that we can try and create a space for people to go and find individuals who they can connect with and share, again, best practice information you know, what worked well, what didn't work well, what to look out for. And then finally, the third stream is around successful ways of working in an ICS. So given the shift to ICSs across the country, this is obviously going to be a longer term piece of work, and the focus at the beginning is around governance, structures and processes. Some of the challenges that we've seen from the people we've spoken to have been that ICSs are being pulled together. However, the governance structure, who owns what, who reports into who, and how that all works smoothly and efficiently is a challenge. So any best practice that we can start to develop again, we're looking to put that onto the Knowledge Hub environment so that we can share that across the region and across the other regions as well. One thing we're keen to do as regional leads is to make sure that, again, within our regional groups, we're not repeating any work. So I'm staying in touch with Henry and the other leads to make sure that if we identify work streams, again, we split those up and we share that knowledge and information across the networks. The regional networks are an amazing opportunity to bring people together, to bring capabilities together, to bring resources together and to share. And personally, I don't think there's ever been a better time to exploit this. COVID has helped to break down a lot of barriers in the NHS. COVID's brought organisations together. COVID's seen a shift to organisations working more collaboratively and closely. And again, with the shift to ICSs, I think that the potential that these networks provide is huge. I've got two questions, I guess. The second of which is going to be a poll, which will come up on the screen shortly. But my first question, I guess, to everybody out there is, firstly, have you contacted your regional leads? Have you got involved with your regional network? And if not, why not? And please do. There's, as Joe mentioned at the beginning, you can connect to us through the platform. You can go to look at the contacts there. You can find the regional leads. You can find the champions, the ambassadors. And also there's an attachment to this session with all of our contact details as well. So firstly, I really encourage you to connect and to get involved, because you guys out there are going to be the people who are steering and driving what the networks can deliver. As Joe said, this is all done on a voluntary basis. We're all trying to give whatever time we can. So the more people we've got, the more time we'll have and the more we can produce. The second question is the poll. And this poll is specifically looking at the ICS work. And there's a question really to understand if people would be interested in joining an ICS working group. So I'm hoping that the poll is live now. I can't see it, but I can if I go onto the platform. So I know it's there. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, that's quite reassuring then. From what I can see there is that people are going to be keen. And again, I think from what we've seen from the people that we've spoken to, just regionally and nationally, as I say, I think there's huge value to support the developments of ICSs, and it is the right time. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand over to Henry, who's going to give an update from the London network. And then I think at the end, we're going to come back to any Q&A. So if there are any questions, any queries, anything you'd like to ask, then please do start thinking about it, and we'll come back to that at the end. Thank you. Great.
Thank you very much, Gareth. It's brilliant to hear the things that you have been doing in the Midlands. I completely echo your sentiments about the benefit of the network. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes thinking about, a quite existential question. Why am I here? Why are we all here? And the reason is very, very simple. I think Project Futures and the development of the Project and Change Association is a massive opportunity for the NHS, for our teams, for our organisations, and for us as individuals. And the development of the networks is an opportunity for us to connect with colleagues, to share, to bring together all of our common challenges that we experience in the NHS. And, you meet amazing people. It's, even really, really great fun. And I was really struck by what you were saying in the Midlands, that you have taken forward a number of work streams to focus on some of your priority issues. So I'm going to have a think about that for the London region network as well. And there you go. As Joe was saying, this is sharing and collaboration and learning already in action. Secondly, being part of this national initiative is terrifically, edifying and interesting, and you get to meet fantastic colleagues from up and down the country. I get to share the stage with Joe and Gareth, who are brilliant colleagues, and it's fantastic working with them. They haven't even asked me to say this or given me any inducement to say this. But the real benefit that I'm seeing is at University College London Hospitals, where I head up our transformation team. Project Futures is supporting and helping us. So helping our frontline project and change professionals do their jobs, better, make things easier, allow us to deliver more quickly. And as I'm just reflecting on some of the things that our organisation has benefited from at a local level, it would be great if you wanted to put into the chat any of your experiences and the things that you feel that at local level Project Futures has brought to you, or perhaps things that you would like to see, that you would like to share, and then we can compare notes and connect with people and perhaps help solve each other's problems. And like I said, just make life easier for us during this particularly challenging time. So I think the first benefit is today. So Compass 02, Compass 01, the festival. I know that many members of my team, other colleagues from the Trust are joining these events. They have signed up to the community portal, K-Hub. It gives access to a huge amount of collateral, materials, insight, intelligence. As Joe was showing you around the platform for the project, for the festival, for this platform, there is an area where there's a whole range of useful documentation. So I would encourage you to go and have a look at that, because you are bound to find some things that are going to be of interest to you in your day-to-day work. Secondly, we benefited hugely from the amazing work that was done around apprenticeships. So UCLH avoided the need to have to do our own local procurement process. We were able to draw down on the work that was done nationally to procure the 4 incredible project management related apprenticeships. And we will then be launching those early in the new year. I can't wait to see the reaction. They are absolutely fantastic. And again, I am sure there are colleagues across all of your organisations who will be interested. So if you want to find out more, session 6 this afternoon looks at the apprenticeships in more detail. So a good opportunity to get a bit more information around apprenticeships. And then finally, a very cool and exciting local development. So the transformation team are using the NHS Project and Change capability framework to support our future development. So just in case you don't know what the framework is, this describes the role types, the competencies and complexity levels for those and those things that are required to drive and deliver change within any setting in the NHS. And our team are doing 2 things. First of all, we are all carrying out an individual assessment of our own experience against the capability framework. And we'll use this to inform personal development. And then secondly, we are using it to identify ways in which we can strengthen our own delivery methodology. So we're already picking up some interesting opportunities in how we can improve in change management, in dependency management and tracking, and also quality management. And this is a great example of a quality product that has been developed by Project Futures that means at local level, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. that framework is aligned to industry standards such as the Association of Project Management, their body of knowledge, but it's tailored for the NHS. So for us, starting and embarking upon this assessment as a team and as individuals, it makes perfect sense in the context of what we deliver. And you don't have to read all 370 pages of the framework to get a huge amount of benefit from it, but you can if you really, really want to. And then once we've completed this exercise, we plan on sharing the results, both within UCLH and hopefully within the network. And I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone about it. Please feel free to get in touch, because this is a tangible way that Project Futures is helping me, my team, my organization. And that's why I personally am here. As Joe said, we're all here on a voluntary basis. We're not paid to do this, but we do it because we're passionate about it. And that's why I really, really, really am so keen to see the accelerated development of the Healthcare Project and Change Association and all those other things that Joe talked about, all the deliverables that she described earlier on. And I just wanted to finish with what I think is an amazing quote from another Henry Ford, who said, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." And now I'm going to hand back to Joe, who's going to, I think, reflect on perhaps some of the questions coming through and some of the comments and thoughts that you have all been putting in the chat.
That's great. Thank you, Henry. And a really great quote there at the end, typically just looking for my mute button. Who doesn't these days? We have got some questions that I'm going to ask to the group. We've also got some really interesting comments in the chat that I've been trying to keep track of, and some really interesting thoughts. But I'll go to the questions first. So first question we have is, I have project management and project admin experience within the charitable sector, as well as being Prince 2 project management certified, but now I work in the NHS, but not in the project field. Are there any networks that will help me get back into the project field within the NHS? Thank you. One of you guys want to pick that one up?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, so this network is the one you want to be involved in.
Exactly.
So I guess the first thing to note is as Henry just mentioned, the framework that Henry's just described is a fantastic place to start for anybody looking to develop a project management career. So the way that that's laid out is, so as Henry said, it's supporting teams going through personal development plans. You can look through the network, you can look through the framework to understand where you currently sit on that framework and where you potentially would like to be on that framework. And then you can focus on the core competencies that you potentially then need to develop. In terms of a network, whichever region you fall under, the first place to go would be to link in with your regional lead and start to get involved with that. But I think also in terms of opportunities, looking for opportunities, not just within your own organisation, but across other organisations across your region, that's a perfect place. And that's exactly what we want. We want to keep talent within the NHS. We don't want to see talent leaving the NHS. Yes, it may move from one organisation to another, and that's not a bad thing. Seeing people move around and get experience from other organisations is fantastic. So I'd say get in contact with your network as a first port of call.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you. And also, we may know who the key people are in your own organisation. So we can put you in touch with your PMO lead or your head of profession, and also see what opportunities there are internally for sort of getting connected in. So next question we have is, how do we connect with regional? So if we just put a comment in the chat now. Gareth and Henry are both regional network leads. So Gareth is the Midlands, Henry is London. We do have a map which shows who and where the leads are, but also if you go into the leads, champions and ambassadors part of the platform, not right now because you'll duck out of here, But if you go and have a look, you'll be able to see who the regional leads are for each of the regions. And we'll add the map in so that you can see who to contact. But hopefully they're all on with us today, and they'll put their names up in the chat as well. So next question we have is, how do we take the ideas in the Midlands and expand these beyond regional boundaries? Are there opportunities to develop national, cross-organisational, cross-system learning in the project profession? So I can cover the national bit if you want to talk about the regional bit. Henry, perhaps, or Gareth. So nationally, one of the things that we've been doing collectively is looking at how we can provide consistent opportunities to learning for everybody. So things like the events that we hold are accessible to everybody. But also the apprenticeships, the apprenticeship procurement was for, well, it's the whole of England, it doesn't necessarily cover Scotland, but those were there for every organisation to then be able to tap into, to use then locally within their own organisation. But also we have the core skills online learning modules. So in terms of basic skills, there's a real starting place for everybody with those. And we'll get that in the chat. But also, if you connect to the, in the documents, in the link below, you'll find that there is an introduction document, which is a one-pager, which takes you to all the really important and key resources for the project profession, including links to the online learning, links to the Knowledge Hub, where you can find all of the other learning and development resources. In the Knowledge Hub, in the Capability Development group, the APM actually posts up events that are free to our members. So always go in and check that out. That's part of our corporate membership. So there's free events for everybody. They also have branches, which we're going to connect in with the regional leads in order to develop a regional specific offering as well. So Henry, did you want to come in on that from a kind of a regional perspective?
Yep, so firstly, just sharing within the region is incredibly powerful and incredibly valuable. But as regional leads, we also do come together and compare notes and understand what is going on in each region, so that we can then, connect, either, replicate good ideas or work collaboratively on certain things. And then, the national team also make those connections. So where they see as part of our, as our week in, week out work, something that is going on in a region that could be useful to the other regional networks, they're also great at sharing that. And then finally, as individuals, as organizations, it's always worth thinking every time that you're doing something, every time you're embarking on something new, is this something that would be useful to share with other colleagues, both, nearby or further afield? So there's lots and lots of different ways in which we are doing that. But I think it's fair to say we can always do more. And this focus on sharing between the regions and proliferating good ideas is something that we are beginning to, really, really take forward in earnest now. And like I said, Gareth and I were chatting the other day about this idea about focusing on sort of like 2 or 3 work streams. I was like, yes, that sounds like a great idea for a London network. So we definitely, it's a very, very important point, and we are starting to do a lot around that.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that is that what we want to make sure we're exploiting is the Knowledge Hub platform. So where we are developing work and resources to be shared, that within my region, we'll put that into our regional space on Knowledge Hub, but everybody's got access to all the regional spaces. So it's really important that people do. We can put a post out there to say that we've uploaded something, and that'll be available to everybody. But as Henry said, we're going to try and manage some of that between the regional leads as well, to make sure that we are keeping everybody informed as to what's being developed.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'm mindful we've only got 1 minute left. Somebody asked a question. Apologies, what does ICS stand for? So integrated care system, so it's the local joining together of the trusts under the region, so it's a kind of subset of that. So those are all being developed, and that's under the new legislation that's going through Parliament at the moment. So there's a frantic amount of work going on to get ICSs connected up locally and then within regions. And there's a real opportunity, I think, for where there is developments of PMOs for ICSs to work collaboratively on joint stuff. There's an opportunity for us to help to support the development of those with some consistent ways of working and some consistent methods and frameworks, and also connecting and networking around it. So there's a couple of comments that I just really want to catch up on. So if somebody expressed interest in a network but not been contacted, if you put your which region you are in the chat, we'll make sure that we follow up and get them contacting you directly. There's been some suggestions about research funding. There's been asked about how we do more in terms of virtual learning. Somebody suggested a methodology handbook. So we've got some of that stuff that we can share. And again, it's bringing together everything everybody's got. And lastly, there was also some comments about where do we find resources and information about change management. And always at your lucky day, because the entire next Compass Day, Compass 3, 30th of November, is all about change management. We've got some really key speakers lined up. We're going to give you more details about that towards the end of the day, and the invite for that is going to be coming out tomorrow. So, it's all about change at the next one. So get the 30th of November blocked out in your calendar early. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your comments, so much for input from Gareth and Henry. Really useful and really great, because as Henry said, the joy of this is the collaboration and all of us coming together to work on this. Together we can do so much more, and the more people we have involved, the faster we can move, the more we can get done. So please do get involved, volunteer in whatever small capacity you can, because every bit makes a difference. So we're going to have a break now. You've got 15 minutes to have a quick refresh, another cup of tea, and then we've got an excellent session coming up for you with Gordon McKay, who is going to tell you all about evolving project leadership. So get ready, come back and enjoy that session, and also enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for being with us today.